Welcome to the Piscean Ponderings, Part 2, Episode 2, whatever you want to say. And this is a response, actually, to the one comment that I got on my very first video, which was, is there a difference when we use the Gregorian calendar versus the sidereal zodiac? That's mainly what I want to look into. I call this comparative celestial cartography, okay? Because it's the calendar question. And here's why calendars matter. I've wrote some notes. Well, before analyzing any chart, okay, the astrological student must understand that the calendar is not a neutral tool. It is an interpretive lens that determines which sky you are reading, okay? Let's talk about the Gregorian calendar, which is the Western tropical astrology. So, the Gregorian calendar, if you're not familiar, it's fixed to the seasons because we have our vernal equinox equaling 0 degrees Aries. The zodiac is Earth-centric relative to Sun, measures humanity's relationship to solar cycles, and the sky is a clock marking earthly time. Okay? Now, the sidereal zodiac, also known as Vedic Jyotish astrology, is fixed to the actual constellations, fixed stars. And it accounts for a precession of equinoxes, approximately 1 degrees every 72 years. The zodiac is cosmocentric. The sky is a map of eternal stellar positions. As of 2026, I'm filming this on Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2026. As of this year, the gap between tropical and sidereal zodiacs, the Ayanamsa, is approximately 24 degrees. This means a planet at 29 degrees Pisces, which is the anaretic degree, 29. So a planet at 29 degrees Pisces in Western charts is actually at 5 degrees Aries in Vedic, a full sign shift for many placements. If you saw my first video, we went over that in my own chart, the Western chart versus the Vedic chart, and how it just so vastly different. So now let's talk about my chart decoded. I just want to give you an example here. So let's look at the system degree, sign house system implication with the ascendant Lagna, the most instructive difference. Okay? So my Western ascendant is at 2355 degrees of Taurus in the first house. Fixed earth rising, sensuality, stability, stubbornness. Vedic astrology says my ascendant is at 000 degrees Taurus, whole sign, first house. Same sign but pure at the very beginning of Taurus. A little pedagogical note, the 24 degrees difference between these two calculations is not an error. The Western chart uses the tropical zodiac, which is seasonal, placing the ascendant rising sign at nearly 24 degrees Taurus. The Vedic chart uses the sidereal zodiac constellational, placing it at 0 degrees Taurus. And both of these are correct within their systems. Because I exist at the threshold, and any native with this placement, we exist at the threshold of Taurus, poised between the end of Aries in Vedic, the previous sign, and the fullness of Taurus in Western. This suggests a soul caught between initiation and manifestation. And then we use our fixed star confirmation. I have Mirak at 028 degrees Taurus in the 12th house Vedic, and Almak at 1417 degrees Taurus confirms this threshold because both stars are associated with transitional states and veiled vision. Let's talk about the sun. So the sun is your identity dissolved versus your identity anchored when we look at Gregorian versus Vedic astrology. So, for example, my Western sun is at Pisces, 809 degrees in the 11th house, where identity dissolves into collective, friend groups, networks, the genius among many. In Vedic speaking, my sun is actually in Aquarius at 13 degrees in the 11th house. This is identity fixed in innovation, rebellion, humanitarian networks, the genius as outlier. So Western speaking, the sun in Pisces suggests a porous ego. The native absorbs the collective unconscious. In Vedic astrology, the sun in Aquarius suggests a crystalline ego. The native stands apart, observing the collective, like an outsider looking in. The sun in Aquarius. Both share the 11th house, networks, communities, aspirations, but the quality of participation differs fundamentally. Here's an exercise for you guys. As students of astrology, you need to ask, for example, like with the stuff that we're talking about here, does this person lose themselves in groups, which is Pisces, or lead groups through radical individuality, Aquarius? The answer is both, depending on which sky they're living under. Let's get into our fixed star confirmation. FOMO hot at 3:55 degrees Pisces in my Western 11th. The star of alchemy, merging spiritual and material. The Neb al-Gidi at 23:36 degrees Aquarius in my Vedic 11th house. The judge, bringing karmic accountability to networks, which you've already seen on this channel. I believe detransitioners like myself need some type of monetization for what happened to us, and that can't even do anything. So the moon is emotional calculus, essentially. For example, my Western moon is at Libra. It's in Libra at 6:14 degrees in the 6th house, bringing emotions, seeking balance through service, health, daily work, conflict avoidant. In Vedic, I have moon in Virgo at 12:19 degrees in the 5th house. Emotions seek purity through analysis, creativity, children, perfectionism. The dramatic shift is the moon moves from Libra, relationship and harmony in Western, to Virgo, which is analysis and service in Vedic. And it changes houses entirely from the 6th house to the 5th house. So Western moon in 6th house in Libra brings emotional fulfillment. It comes from healing others, all right? Creating harmony in workplace, diplomatic in conflict. Native usually cries for justice. But a Vedic moon in the 5th house in Virgo brings emotional fulfillment coming from creative precision, teaching, intellectual offspring. The native cries over imperfection. Our pedagogical gold. This is the clearest example of how system choice alters psychological profile. A therapist using Western would focus on relational dynamics. A Vedic astrologer would focus on creative blocks and perfectionism. Both are true. Both are true. Our fixed star confirmation, we have Spica. I have Spica at 23 degrees, 23:54 degrees Libra in my Western 6th house. This is the starry ear of wheat, all right? Bringing healing gifts through service. The nebula at 21:41 degrees Virgo in the Vedic 5th house. The lion's tail, demanding creative courage. Let's talk about Mercury, the mind's architecture. So Mercury, for me, in my Western chart, is in Pisces, debilitated and fallen in Pisces at 18:31 degrees. In the 11th house, I'm very intuitive, I'm a psychic, boundaryless thinking, and I speak in poetry. Vedic Mercury placement I have is Mercury in Aquarius at 24:35 degrees in the 11th house. Same house. Logical, innovative, network-minded, speaks in systems. So our same house, different sign, both place Mercury in the 11th house of networks, communities, organizations, but the medium shifts. Pisces, Mercury in Pisces, thinks in images, feels ideas, communicates through art. And Aquarius, Mercury in Aquarius, thinks in patterns, structures ideas, communicates through technology, which is what I've been doing. So, went a little bit too far. Okay. So when you place these things together, what happens? Well, the native has a gift of what? Translating between feeling-based knowing and system-based knowing. This is the mind of a true translator between worlds, dimensions even, realities, portals, quantum leaping. So our fixed star confirmation is Merkab at 2333 degrees Pisces in my Western 11th house. The saddle, carrying messages between realms. And Deneb Al-Gidi, again at 2336 degrees Aquarius in my Vedic 11th, structuring those messages into karmic law. Let's talk about Venus, which is love's temperature. So for me, in my Western chart, Venus is exalted in Pisces. Venus loves to be in Pisces because why? It's having fun. And it's at 002 degrees in my 11th house, bringing universal love, boundaryless affection, and I usually love everyone to a fault, right? But in my Vedic chart, not the Gregorian, we're looking at Aquarius, Venus in Aquarius at 606 degrees. In the 11th house, the same house, detached love, intellectual affection, and loves humanity. So here's the 0 degrees threshold, right? My Western Venus at 002 degrees Pisces, it's at the critical degree because it's the beginning of dissolution. Venus just entered Pisces. Natives with this placement usually fall in love with the idea of love, with everyone they meet, with God through every face. But Venus in Aquarius loves through friendship, through shared ideals, through the collective. So the native experiences love as both oceanic merging, Pisces, and crystalline appreciation, Aquarius. Relationships oscillate between overwhelming intimacy and cool detachment. In our fixed star confirmation, Fomalhaut, again at 355 degrees Pisces, spiritualizing love, and Deneb Al-Gidi at 2336 degrees Aquarius, bringing love into right relationships with the collective. I want to talk about Mars, and then Jupiter, Saturn, and the outer planets. Okay. So Mars is the action's direction. And I have Mars in my Western chart at Capricorn, in Capricorn, exalted at 1407 degrees in the 9th house, disciplined action through philosophy, travel, higher education, ambition as pilgrimage. And in my Vedic chart, I have it Mars in Sagittarius, 2012 degrees in the 9th house, enthusiastic action through philosophy, travel, higher education, adventure as crusade. And the subtle shift that I want you guys to understand in this part is both place Mars in the 9th house, of philosophy, higher learning, long journeys, but the modality shifts. Capricorn Mars, exalted. It builds temples, it climbs mountains, it achieves enlightenment through structure. And Sagittarius Mars explores territories, it burns with conviction, it achieves enlightenment through expansion. Our fixed star confirmation, Vega at 1522 degrees Capricorn, Western 9th house, the falling eagle, bringing vision down to earth. And Aries at 949 degrees Sagittarius in the Vedic 9th house, the heart of the scorpion, warrior energy seeking truth through conflict. expand on Jupiter, the planet of expansion's paradox. So I have Jupiter in Libra at 1755 degrees retrograde in the 6th house, squaring Mars, Saturn, growth through service, but conflicted. And that's my Western calculation, my Gregorian calculation. But Vedic, Jupiter in Virgo at 2359 degrees retrograde in the 5th house, growth through discernment and perfectionism. Here's the retrograde factor. So both systems obviously show that Jupiter is retrograde. The philosopher turned inward, wisdom earned through introspection rather than teaching. Now, a Western interpretation of Jupiter in Libra in the 6th house, it wants to expand through relationships, justice, and daily service. But square to Mars and Saturn creates frustration, the desire to help blocked by limitations. In the Vedic interpretation is Jupiter in Virgo in the 5th house wants to expand through creativity, teaching, and analysis. But retrograde in Virgo suggests hyper self-criticism, the inner teacher who can never perfect the lesson. In fixed star confirmation, we have Arcturus at 2417 degrees Libra in my Western 6th house, the bearer of wisdom, bringing philosophical insight to daily work. The nebula at 2141 degrees Virgo in my Vedic 5th house, demanding creative courage despite perfectionism. Let's talk about Saturn, which is the taskmaster's assignment. So in my Western Gregorian chart, I have Saturn in Cancer, debilitated. In the 3rd house, retrograde at 2053 degrees, and there's a Mars opposition, square Jupiter, discipline through communication, siblings, courage. My Vedic chart shows I have Gemini in the 3rd house, Saturn and Gemini in the 3rd house, retrograde at 2658 degrees, discipline through communication, learning, and adaptability. So the same house, different sign, both place Saturn in the 3rd house of communication, siblings, short journeys, courage, but the emotional texture shifts. Why? Because Saturn in Cancer brings emotional discipline. You must learn to communicate feelings without drowning. Family obligations shape your speech. Saturn in Gemini is mental discipline. You must learn to focus thoughts without scattering, and information overload requires structure. Let's talk about my opposition to Mars. Western speaking, Saturn opposite Mars, Saturn in Cancer opposite Mars and Capricorn. 3rd house, 9th house issues, 646 degrees of an orb. It creates the classic action frustration dynamic. Every move meets resistance, building ultimate strength through persistence. In the fixed star confirmation, we have Sirius at 1409 degrees Cancer in my Western 3rd house, the scorching one, bringing intense focus to communication. And Castor at 2018 degrees Cancer in my Western 3rd house, the mortal twin, teaching through loss and learning. Pollux at 2317 degrees Cancer, Western 3rd house, the immortal twin, teaching through legacy. Let's take a look at these outer planets. Generational signatures, as I like to call them. So Uranus, for me, is in Pisces at 650 degrees in the 11th house. And it turns into Aquarius at 1254 degrees in the 11th house. One sign generation of boundary breakers. In Western, dissolving reality, and Vedic, restructuring it. Neptune is in Aquarius at 1555 degrees in the 10th house. Capricorn at 2159 degrees in the 10th house. So one sign generation of dreamers. In Western, collective visions and career. In Vedic, it's disciplined dreams. Pluto in Sagittarius at 2417 degrees in the 8th house. Sagittarius, 0-21 degrees in the 8th house. So same sign, different degree in its transformation through truth seeking intensified. The outer planets shift by approximately one sign between systems, enough to change the flavor of a generation without altering its fundamental mission. Uranus in Pisces, this generation will absolutely dissolve technological boundaries. AI that dreams, networks that feel, reality that bleeds. Uranus in Aquarius, the same generation will structure technological breakthroughs, networks as nervous systems, collective intelligence as infrastructure. Neptune in Aquarius, this generation will dream of networks, collective visions of utopia through technology. Neptune in Capricorn, this generation will discipline those dreams, manifesting visions through structure, ambition, and time. Pluto in Sagittarius, this generation transforms through truth-seeking, philosophy, travel, and higher education. 24 degrees difference places them at different phases of the journey. So Western is at the end of the sign, wisdom earned, and Vedic at the beginning, wisdom sought. Let's talk about our nodes, our lunar nodes. So the moon's nodes are karmic axes. The north node of the moon and south node of the moon. These are our houses interpretation. I'll give you more examples on this. So I have Aries in the 12th house, Rahu, north node of the moon, and it's at 25-19 degrees. That places Libra in my 6th house, Ketu, south node of the moon, at 25-19 degrees with a 12th, 6th house axis. Karma of self versus the other, liberation through solitude. And the radical shift is the nodes actually move from the 12th and 6th axes, spirituality and service in Western, to the 1st, 7th axis, self and the other, in Vedic. It's the most profound systemic difference when we're looking at Gregorian charts versus our Vedic charts. Look at the nodes. Everything else as well, but the nodes are very important. So here's a Western interpretation. Rahu, also known as the north node of the moon, in Aries in the 12th house, the soul's growth direction is toward courageous solitude, spiritual independence, letting go of others' expectations. Past lives, Ketu, south node, in Libra in the 6th house, over-focus on service, relationship, pleasing others. In this lifetime, in this incarnation, I need to learn to be alone, to fight for spiritual truth, to release the need for harmony. In Vedic speaking, Rahu and Aries in the 1st house, the soul's growth direction is toward assertive individuality, self-definition, leadership, past lives, which is Ketu in Libra. In the 7th house, though, over-focus on relationships, partnerships, losing the self in other people. And in this lifetime, in this incarnation, I need to learn to be a self before being a partner. Here's the synthesis. Both systems agree. Okay, the native must stop sacrificing the self for others, and Western frames it as spiritual solitude, but Vedic frames it as a healthy ego development. Both point to the same womb, losing oneself in service to harmony. In a fixed star confirmation on this, Murak at 0-28 degrees Taurus in my Vedic 1st house, conjuncting the north node of the moon, Rahu, by house, veiling the path of self-development. Almach at 14-17 degrees Taurus in the Vedic 1st house, the bent knee, humility required before leadership. Let's talk about the fixed stars, the unchanging sky. So the fixed stars provide the bridge between systems. They do not precess. Their positions in the sidereal zodiac are, for practical purpose, fixed. This means a star's position in Vedic astrology is its true constellational home. A star's position in Western Gregorian astrology shows where it falls in the tropical zodiac due to precession. Key stars in my chart. Really quick, I have Fomalhaut, Aquarius, 355 degrees. Pisces is what it turns into, 355 degrees. The alchemist star, spiritual power, Antares, Sagittarius, still at 949 degrees in Western and Vedic. The warrior star, truth through conflict. Spica, Libra, at 2354 degrees, both for Western and Vedic. The healer star, gifts through service. Regulus, Leo, 2954 degrees, turns into Virgo, 2954. The royal star, leadership tested. And Algol, Taurus, 2614 degrees, turns into Gemini at the same degrees. It's the Gorgon star, transformation through crises. Our pedagogical exercise, we got to notice that the star positions are identical in both columns. The houses they occupy differ because the house systems differ. It teaches you that stars are absolute. Houses are relative. Stars are absolute. Houses are relative. So now, what do? We synthesize. We use all those chart calculations, our Western calculations and our Vedic calculations, and we profile using a synthesis. How do we do that? Well, I'm going to show you. The native celestial signature. First, we, of course, expand on the Western profile, our Gregorian calendar chart. The mystic in the machine. Sun's in Pisces in the 11th house. It's a soul who dissolves into collective genius. Moon is in Libra in the 6th house, emotions calibrated to service and harmony. Mercury is debilitated in Pisces in the 11th house, thoughts that swim in the collective unconscious. Venus in Pisces exalted in the 11th house, love without boundaries, affection for all. Mars in Capricorn exalted in the 9th house, ambition channeled through philosophy. Jupiter retrograde in Libra, 6th house, wisdom earned through relationship struggles. Saturn debilitated retrograde in Cancer in the 3rd house, discipline through emotional communication. My ascendant in Taurus, grounded, sensual, stubborn presence. And MC midheaven in Capricorn, public identity as a builder, authority, structure. So the Western archetype would be the contemplative engineer, one who builds structures, Capricorn midheaven, from mystical insight, Pisces sun, who serves humanity, 6th house moon, through creative networks, 11th house stellium. And then we use our Vedic calculations for our Vedic profile, the engineer and the mystic. Sun is now in Aquarius in the 11th house, a soul who structures collective genius. Moon is now in Virgo in the 5th house, emotions analyzed through creativity. Mercury is now in Aquarius in the 11th house, thoughts that network and systematize. Venus is now in Aquarius in the 11th house, love as intellectual appreciation. Mars is now in Sagittarius in the 9th house, passion channeled through truth-seeking. Jupiter retrograde is now in Virgo in the 5th house, wisdom earned through creative perfectionism. Saturn retrograde is now in Gemini in the 3rd house, discipline through adaptable communication. Ascendant is still in Taurus, but this time the degrees are different, 0, 0, 0 degrees. Pure, undiluted earth presence. MC midheaven Capricorn, this time it's at 539 degrees, public identity as disciplined achiever. So the Vedic archetype is the engineer who dreams, one who builds systems, Aquarius sun, from disciplined vision, Capricorn midheaven, who creates 5th moon through analytical precision, Virgo moon. Here's a unified field theory. I am both a mystic who builds and an engineer who dreams. Western emphasizes the mystical source and Vedic emphasizes the structural manifestation. Neither is wrong. My genius lies in the translation between these languages, and so does yours, is what I'm trying to get at here. As we approach Pluto and Aquarius more head-on than we already have, I'm perfectly positioned. Why? Because I speak both the language of dissolution, Pisces, and structure, Aquarius. I help humanity navigate the transition from the old world to the new, because I carry both codes in my bones. I want to give you some more key lessons, teaching the difference. So, I have 5 different things really quick I want to express to you. So, the 24 degrees shift. 24 degrees shift is not an error. It's a mathematical result of 2,000 years of precession since the tropical zodiac was fixed. Both systems are internally consistent. That's the first thing. Let me tell you about signs versus constellations. So tropical astrology, it measures seasons. Earth's relationship to the sun. Sidereal astrology measures stars, Earth's place in the galaxy. Both are real. They measure different things. Okay? There is no argument. They help each other. Help you. That's what I'm here for, because it seems like a lot of these astrologers on YouTube will be like, well, if you have a Taurus ascendant, here you go. And this is what's going to happen to you. What about if my ascendant isn't even actually at the latest stages, though? What if everything's different in my Vedic chart? There is some Vedic astrology YouTubers on here, but not quite enough. And young people. We need more young people like myself that are into early 20s that are just finding out about this stuff, that want to be there for one another in social network and make astrology a bigger thing in a bigger community and a bigger, more talked about thing. So house systems compound the difference. Placidus, Western, versus whole sign, Vedic, creates additional interpretive layers. So the 6th house moon in Western becomes the 5th house in Vedic astrology. Different life areas, different expressions. Now let's talk about how a person born at this moment in history, myself, I carry both the tropical and sidereal signatures, but so do you. They're not more one than the other. You're not more one than the other, is what I'm trying to say. We are the intersection of seasonal time and cosmic time. That's all it is. We are the intersection of seasonal time and cosmic time. Now let's talk about my 5th thing. Fixed stars are the bridge. When systems conflict, look to the fixed stars. They are the actual sky, the unchanging reference points. Their house placements in each system reveal how the eternal manifests in temporal frames. Here's our ultimate insight, and then we'll get into some footnotes. And yeah, that'll have been my response to this comment. Thank you for leaving that comment. Thank you for watching this channel. Thank you for actually interacting with the videos. Thank you for actually wanting to learn. Thank you for actually wanting to educate yourself. Thank you for actually, helping astrology still be in the algorithm, is what I'm trying to say. So here's our ultimate insight on this. The Gregorian calendar, Western tropical astrology, measures humanity's experience of the sun, our seasons, our agriculture, our psychological cycles. In the sidereal zodiac, Vedic astrology measures humanity's place among the stars, our cosmic context, our karmic inheritance, our soul's ancient memory. A complete astrological profile requires both. The native is not just a creature of Earth, tropical, or just a creature of the cosmos, sidereal. They are the place where Earth and cosmos meet. All right? So that's the thing with this chart that we just did our response to. It's a complex interplay of signs, houses, and fixed stars. It reveals a soul designed for translation work between systems, between worlds, between the temporal and the eternal. I've talked about this in my other videos, the eternal now. Right now, what are you doing that you actually want to do? Right now, what are you passionate about? What are you actually striving for? What is your heart screaming at you to do? Right, now I'm going to get into my footnotes. I have 13. So the Ayanamsa value used in this analysis is approximately 24 degrees, consistent with the Lahiri Ayanamsa for the 2020 through 2025 period. The exact value varies slightly by calculation method and date of birth. Merak, Beta Andromede, traditional name from Arabic al-Marak, meaning the loins or the girdle, associated with veiled vision, hidden strength, and transitions between states. Al-Mak, Gamma Andromede, a binary star system representing duality, partnership, and the marriage of opposites. In the 12th house, Vedic, these suggest hidden gifts requiring solitude to access. Fomalhaut, Alpha Pisces Austrini, one of the 4 royal stars of Persia, designated guardian of the northern sky, associated with alchemy, spiritual transformation, and genius emerging from chaos. Dineb al-Gidi, Delta Capricorni, from Arabic Danab al-Jadi, meaning tail of the goat, associated with judgment, karma, and accountability in groups. Spica, Alpha Virginis, from Latin Spica Virginis, meaning the virgin's ear of wheat. One of the most fortunate fixed stars, associated with healing gifts, artistic talent, and service to humanity. Denebola Bedaliones, from Arabic Danab al-Asad, meaning tail of the lion, associated with courage, creative expression, and the courage to be seen. Markab Alpha Pegasi, from Arabic Markab, meaning saddle or vehicle, associated with carrying messages, transportation between realms, and the burden of knowledge. Deneb al-Gidi. Alright, now let's talk about Vega. Alpha Lyrae, from Arabic al-Waki, meaning the falling or the landing, associated with vision, idealism, and bringing celestial insight to earthly matters. Antares Alpha Scorpii, from Greek anti-Ares, meaning rival of Mars, associated with warrior energy, truth-seeking through conflict, and transformative courage. Arcturus, also known as Alpha Bootis, from Greek Arcturus, meaning guardian of the bear, associated with wisdom, guardianship, and philosophical insight. Sirius Alpha Canis Majoris, from Greek Syros, meaning scorching, the brightest star in the sky, associated with intense focus, spiritual initiation, and communication from higher realms. Castor and Pollux, Alpha and Beta Geminorum, the twin stars, representing duality, learning through opposites, and the mortal-immortal journey. Pluto and Sagittarius generation, transformation through truth-seeking, higher education, travel, and philosophy. The 24 degrees difference places individuals at different phases of this generational journey. Earlier degrees seek truth through exploration, later degrees through consolidation. The nodes, Rahu and Ketu, north node and south node of the moon in Vedic astrology, are always opposite and always retrograde in the natal chart. Their movement between systems reflects the different house calculations, not different node positions. Merak and Almach. So, fixed stars move approximately. 13 fixed stars move approximately 1 degree every 72 years due to precession. For practical astrological purposes, their positions can be considered fixed within a human lifetime. The house they occupy changes with house system and precession, but their degree remains constant. Alright? And now what I want to do is also get into something else here. So just bear with me. What I wanted to do is read some field reports, some conceptual astrology field reports on certain cities and states being founded by astrologers globally. And in order to do this, I will be using DeepSeek AI. And what I'm trying to say with this is, when we use AI as students of astrology, it actually helps us. It actually helps us. Whether you're going to argue with me and be like, oh, well, you should just read a book or something. I've read plenty of books. The reason AI really is good is because no other astrologer is going to be as quick as AI in coming up with a full report, 5 pages or more, on your life using the calculations that you give me, and being so thorough, so detailed. If you see my other videos, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is not my first video. I have over 600 videos on this channel, mainly talking about astrology. So, what I want to do is go over this. We'll say it's the Institute of Advanced Astrology Wizards, because you guys are astrological students. The Division of Astroarchaeology and Geodetic Studies. So, cities forged by celestial mandate. The terrestrial zodiac, comparative field reports on astrologically founded cities. With our preamble, the city as horoscope. Before the cornerstones were laid, before the first brick was fired, there was a moment. The founders of these cities understood what modern urban planners have forgotten. A city is not merely built, it is born. And like any birth, its moment of emergence into the world imprints upon it a destiny as immutable as a natal chart. The following field reports document the investigations into cities founded under explicit astrological supervision. These are not legends, these are primary sources confirmed by surviving foundation charts, contemporary chronicles, and archaeo-astronomical survey. Now, let me see here. There is about 5 different case studies that I want to go over. I've talked about Baghdad in another video, the city of peace, Madinat as-Salam. The location, Mesopotamia, modern Iraq. Foundation, July 30th, 762 CE, approximately 2:40 p.m. local apparent time. The primary astrologers, Nabokht, Persian Zoroastrian astrologer, former court astronomer to the last Sasanian monarchs. Mashallah ibn Athari, Persian Jewish astrologer, mathematician, and cosmologist. So, Caliph Abu Ja'far al-Mansur, second ruler of the Abbasid dynasty, understood that to found a capital worthy of his empire, he required not engineers but stargazers. Having overthrown the Umayyads, he sought to build a city that would symbolize the dawn of a new age. The site, a bend in the Tigris River near ancient Babylon, was chosen for its strategic position, but the moment was selected with surgical precision. Nabokht and Mashallah cast the electional chart for the foundation at the appointed hour. Jupiter, also known as Mishtari, the planet of kingdoms, wealth, and wisdom, was rising in the east in the sign of Sagittarius, its domicile of expansion and faith. Sun, Shams, occupied Leo, its own house, the sign of kings and sovereign power. Mars, Merik, planet of war and conquest, was settling in the west, symbolically diminished. The ascendant was established at 5 degrees Sagittarius, with Jupiter dignified and angular. This was not merely an auspicious moment, it was a theological political statement. The Abbasids presented themselves as restorers of cosmic order. By grounding the city with Jupiter rising and Mars setting, they declared, "Here wisdom shall conquer war. Here the kingdom of heaven shall manifest on earth." In our observations, the city was designed as a perfect circle, approximately 2 kilometers in diameter. The famed round city of Baghdad, this geometry was no accident. The circular form mirrored the celestial spheres and the zodiacal wheel. 4 equidistant gates, oriented to the cardinal directions, channeled the flow of cosmic energy to the urban organism. The Caliphal Palace and Central Mosque occupied the exact geometric center, the omphalos, where heaven's axes pierced the earth. Within 50 years, within 50 years, Baghdad became the intellectual capital of the world. The House of Wisdom, Beit al-Hikmah, attracted scholars from Greece, Persia, India, and Syria. Algebra was formalized. Ptolemy was translated. The zero arrived from India. The city's Jupiterian promise of learning and prosperity was realized with breathtaking precision. When Hulagu Khan's Mongols sacked Baghdad in 1258, the transits were instructive. Saturn, destruction of structures, was passing over the foundation, Sun, while Mars, War, conjoined the natal Mars. The celestial signature of its birth was readable in its death. Now I want to talk about Cairo, the victorious, Al-Qahira, North Africa, modern Egypt, the foundation date being August 8th, 969 CE, disputed, see notes. The primary astrologers, court astrologers of Caliph al-Muiz-Din Allah, Fatimid dynasty, names lost to history. Let's go over the celestial mandate with apocryphal complications. So, the Fatimid conquest of North Africa required a new capital to rival Baghdad. Caliph al-Muiz, a follower of Ismaili Shizim, understood astrology's power to legitimize rule. According to the enduring legend, his astrologers prepared to elect the perfect moment. A great rope was stretched, hung with bells. Astrologers raised their astrolabes, waiting for the precise degree of the ascendant to trigger the breaking of ground. As the auspicious second approached, a crow landed on the rope. The bells rang prematurely. The workers, hearing the signal, began digging. The astrologers looked up in horror. Mars al-Murik was rising. Al-Qahir, Al-Qahir, the vanquisher, they cried, using the planet's epithet. Caliph al-Muiz, ever the pragmatist, declared, then let the city be named Al-Qahira. This narrative, likely apocryphal, nevertheless encodes profound truth. The name Cairo, Al-Qahira, derives from the Arabic for Mars, al-Murik, also called Al-Qahir, the subduer or vanquisher. Whether the crow legend is historical or ideological, it confirms that Mars was understood as the city's planetary signature. Cairo's subsequent history bears the unmistakable imprint of its Martian birth. Military conquest, the city served as launch point for Fatimid expansion into Syria, Palestine, and the Hijaz. Resilience against invaders, Cairo withstood Crusader attacks, Mongol threats, which devastated Baghdad, and later Ottoman conquests, but also always as a prize worth fighting for. Revolutionary character from Mamluk coups to the 1952 revolution and 2011 uprising. Cairo repeatedly manifests its Martian nature, the city where power is seized, not merely inherited. Distinction from Baghdad. Where Baghdad's Jupiter rising promised wisdom, Cairo's Mars rising promised will. The Fatimids founded a city not of scholars alone, though Al-Azhar University would become the world's oldest, but of warrior scholars, a city where faith was spread by both argument and army. Here's a note on the foundation date. Competing dates exist. 969 CE is certain. The exact date varies among chroniclers. Our institute favors the Mars rising tradition, noting that the specific degree of Mars, 22 through 24 degrees Sagittarius in sidereal terms, would require precise recalculation against precession. Further archival work in Fatimid manuscripts is required. Our third case file, Ahmedabad, the city of unity, also known as Gujarat, Western India, with foundation date February 26th, which is actually my birthday, but this is February 26th, 1411 CE, primary date, alternatives recorded. The primary astrologers being court astrologers of Sultan Ahmed Shah, Muzaffari dynasty, Hindu Jyotishis, Vedic astrologers. So we look at the celestial mandate, which is a bicameral sky. Sultan Ahmed Shah I, ruler of the Gujarat Sultanate, resolved to found a new capital on the banks of the Sabarmati River. His court employed both Muslim and Hindu astrologers, a remarkable example of cross-traditional electional practice. Here's the challenge. Islamic astrology rooted in Hellenistic Persian traditions and Vedic astrology rooted in sidereal calculations employ different zodiacs, different ayanamsas, and different house systems. The surviving records show competing foundation dates. Here's our hypothesis. The Sultan, demonstrating considerable diplomatic sophistication, may have accepted a date that satisfied both traditions' criteria through different astrological logics. Alternatively, the foundation ceremony itself may have been staged on multiple days, with each community's astrologers declaring their own moment official. Next, we have our field observations. Ahmedabad's subsequent character reflects this dual parentage. So we look at syncretic architecture, which is the city's early buildings blend Islamic arches and domes with Hindu and Jain carved pillars and brackets. The Sri Syed Mosque's famous Tree of Life Jali lattice window embodies this synthesis. Gujarat's position as a maritime trade crossroads linking the Middle East, Africa, and Southeast Asia was encoded in the city's foundation. Jupiter, wealth, and Mercury, trade, were likely emphasized in both charts. Communal complexity, the city has witnessed both extraordinary Hindu-Muslim synthesis, the shared devotion at the shrine of Shah Alam, and tragic communal violence in 2002. This oscillation may reflect the unresolved tension between its two astrological origins, the city's soul speaking two languages that do not always translate. In our surviving evidence, historian H.G. Shastri's research confirms that multiple foundation horoscopes exist in Gujarat Sultanate records, a unique case in astrological urbanism. The Institute recommends further excavation of these manuscripts. Pretty cool, huh? So our fourth case file is Jaipur, the Pink City, also known as Rajasthan, northern India, with a foundation date of November 18th, 1727 CE. Construction commenced. So our primary astrologer, architect, we have Maharaja Sawai Jai Singh II, ruling monarch, astronomer king, and Vidyadhar Bhattacharya, chief architect, implementing Vastu Shastra. The king who read the stars. Maharaja Sawai Jai Singh II was no ordinary patron of astrology. He was a practicing astronomer of international standing who built 5 monumental observatories, Jantar Mantar, across India. Commissioned the Zij-i Muhammad Shahi, a star table more accurate than contemporary European tables. Corresponded with Portuguese, Jesuits, and Mughal scholars on astronomical matters. When Jaipur was conceived as a new capital relocating from congested Amber, Jai Singh personally supervised the astrological and architectural planning. Jaipur was designed according to Vastu Shastra, the Hindu science of architecture, which is inseparable from astrological principles. The city plan follows the mandala of 9 squares, Navagraha grid, each square corresponding to a celestial body. So we have our central square, Brahma, the creator, the void from which manifestation emerges, and our surrounding 8 squares, which is the sun, moon, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, Saturn, and the lunar nodes, the north node and south node of the moon, Rahu, and Ketu. The city's orientation aligns with cardinal directions established by solar observation. The sun gate, Suraj Pole, faces east toward sunrise. The moon gate, Shan Pole, faces west. The entire city is conceived as a terrestrial zodiac, a diagram of the heavens rendered in stone and street. Our field observations, the Jantar Mantar. Within the city complex, Jai Singh installed his greatest observatory. The instruments Massive stone structures are not merely scientific tools, they are ritual objects. The Samrat Yantra, supreme instrument, a 27-meter sundial, casts a shadow that moves with the sun across calibrated scales. The Jay Prakash instrument is a concave hemisphere representing the celestial sphere inverted. Jay Singh achieved something unprecedented, a city that is itself an observatory. To live in Jaipur is to inhabit a working astrological instrument. Every sunrise, the sun gate receives the first light. Every season, the shadows trace the zodiac. The World Heritage Committee noted Jaipur's exchange of ideas in astronomy and the sciences with other cultures. Our institute notes that it represents the last great astrological city foundation before the scientific revolution displaced astrology from legitimate statecraft. Alright, now I'm going to go through our final case file. Constantinople, the city of the world's desire, also known as Thrace, modern Istanbul, Turkey, with a foundation date of November 8th, 324 CE, rededication as New Rome. Primary astrologer, Emperor Constantine I, with unidentified court astrologers. First, let's look at Christian astrology. The founding of Constantinople occupies a liminal space. Okay? So the first Christian imperial capital, yet consecrated with astrological ritual. Sources indicate that Constantine, though sympathetic to Christianity, had not yet been baptized and maintained court astrologers in the Roman tradition. On the morning of November 8th, 324 CE, he personally traced the boundaries of the new city with a spear, the Hasta ritual, following astrologically determined hours. Here's the reconstructed chart. Using surviving descriptions and chronicles, our institute reconstructs Sun in Scorpio, deep, intense, transformative power, the city as crucible of empires. Moon in Leo, royal emotional signature, the city as seat of majesty. Jupiter in Sagittarius, expanding faith, the city as missionary center. And Mercury in Scorpio, penetrating intelligence, theological precision. Our field observations. Constantinople's subsequent 1,100-year history as capital of the Byzantine Empire validates its scorpionic signature. Death and rebirth, sacked in 1204, Crusaders retaken in 1261, finally fallen in 1453, yet perpetually resurrecting. Religious intensity, center of Orthodox Christianity, site of ecumenical councils, battleground of theological controversy, and occult survival. Even under Ottoman rule, Istanbul, the city retained its character as a threshold between Europe and Asia, Christendom and Islam, visible and invisible worlds. Our comparative synthesis. The astrological urbanism typology. City, planetary signature, astrological tradition, urban form, historical manifestation. So Baghdad, Jupiter rising, Hellenistic, Persian circular, celestial spheres, wisdom, translation, science. Cairo, Mars rising, Fatimid, Ismail, irregular, organic growth, conquest, resilience, revolution. And I want to get into the conclusion of this really quick, and then I want to tell you what is to come. First, what I'll say is the earth is a mirror of the sky, and every stone laid in wisdom reflects a star. So this is the lost science conclusion. The Institute observes with concern that no major city founded after 1800 CE has employed astrological election. Last known case may be Washington, D.C., 1791, where sources suggest George Washington may have consulted an astrologer regarding the placement of the district's cornerstone, though evidence remains circumstantial. Here's the cost of forgetting. Modern cities grow organically, chaotically, or according to purely economic logic. They lack a celestial anchor. Their inhabitants report epidemic rates of alienation, rootlessness, and meaninglessness. The Institute does not claim that Astrological Foundation prevents these conditions, but we note that the citizens of Jaipur, Baghdad, and Constantinople speak of their cities with a vocabulary of destiny absent from London, New York, or Tokyo. And then further field reports pending for St. Petersburg, Russia, because there was an alleged astrological consultation in 1703. Tenochtitlan, Mexico, 1325, Aztec Foundation at Eagle on Cactus Omen, interpretable astrologically. And Rome, Italy, 753 BCE, Pharaoh's account of Romulus's Agoral Foundation. Our next expedition would be investigating the astrological foundations of Angkor Wat, Cambodia, where temple alignments to Draco and the solstices suggest a comprehensive celestial city plan. Now I have to go to the bathroom, so I will see you in the next video with peace and love. Thank you for watching this. Subscribe, like, comment, and I can't wait to talk about astrology some more with you in the next video. Thank you.